I knew my own family history of heart disease and lung disease, kidney disease, all these things, and would watch, my loved ones. That's what they were doing. They were just taking medications all the time. And I wanted to be able to have a business that would show people that there are other ways, and there are other ways to take care of your body from a more holistic standpoint. And sometimes it is just that you're deficient in nutrients that your body needs.
This episode of The Recovery Couch is brought to you by JB Davis at South Dayton Toyota. For integrity, service, and unbeatable deals, call JB and his team at 513-267-5225 and tell them The Recovery Couch sent you. What's up, sobriety gangsters? Welcome to another episode of The Recovery Couch. I'm your host, Brandon Couch, and I'm super excited for today's episode. We're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to talk more about recovery from a health perspective and why it's important for not just people in recovery from addiction, but for people, period. And so today we have an awesome guest, Debbie Schmitmeyer. I met Debbie through the Springboro Chamber of Commerce, and she is running a fantastic business here in the Springboro area, Prime IV Hydration. And I'm not going to steal her thunder. I'm going to let her tell you all about it. I want to welcome to the show, Debbie. Debbie, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about the business, why you're passionate about it, and then let's get into the benefits that it has for people who use Prime IV Hydration.
All right. So, Prime IV Hydration and Wellness, located here in Springboro. What we do is we hydrate people via IV, just like an IV you would get in a hospital. It has vitamins, but it has vitamins, minerals, amino acids that we can put into your IV based on your health and wellness goals. And I'm super excited about it because it helps people to be proactive about their health instead of reactive. And so we offer those IV services. We also do vitamin injections, and we also offer cryotherapy. And cryotherapy is kind of, if you know what a cold plunge is, this is a little bit different because it's in a chamber. You don't have to get wet. And we drop temperature to help people with inflammation. And we do all that in a spa type of environment. So when you come see me, we have massage chairs, we give you heated eye masks, blankets, all those things. So it makes it a lot more enjoyable, and it's a time to set aside for yourself.
I've been there. I can attest it is a spa-like feel. I love the feng shui. It's got a really cozy feel that you would want when you're going to get an IV to hydrate. In these IVs, Debbie, you mentioned amino acids. This is a buzzword in the health and wellness community. Branched chain amino acids. People are always looking for, good BCAAs or amino acids. What is the health benefit of amino acids?
So with amino acids, they help in several ways. Athletes usually like them because it's really good for muscle recovery. However, it also helps people with circulation, also helps people with their immune system. And the cool thing about, I'm very familiar with supplement world when you're taking things orally. What this is going to do, we're going to put it in your IV. So it's going to go right into your cells and tissues. So it bypasses your gut, which is really helpful because the majority of us walk around with chronic gut issues with all the processed foods, all the toxins, all the things that are in our environment, where our amino acids and the blend that we utilize that goes in your IV, you're going to get it directly into your cells and tissues right away. And we don't have to worry about it. Some of it getting eliminated in your gut. So you're going to get, 100% of what your body needs. Whereas if it has to go through your digestive system, if you have a really good supplement, you're lucky to get 20%. So usually it's a lot less than that. It's like 10 to 15%.
Great segue, because that was ultimately one of the questions I was going to get to is why would somebody prefer to have an IV as opposed to taking a supplement over the counter? And So gut health is really that much of an issue, or it's in the way of the absorption of most over-the-counter supplements.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I still tell people, I don't it's not that I don't want you to take your oral supplementation, because there are some things we just can't do via IV. And getting that, your regular vitamins and minerals in every day is great. But it's really important that if you are deficient, we can definitely increase those levels, because like I said, we're bypassing the gut. So it's a lot quicker way to increase. Kind of think of, a lot of people are familiar with being deficient in vitamin D. And so we can do injections of that, and it speeds up that process for them as far as getting their levels up to, therapeutic levels where they need to, to get at. So yes, and the whole thing about when I talked about, gut health and how people struggle with that, and right now you see a lot of probiotics on the market, and everyone's talking about, their gut and, good bacteria and bad bacteria and all those things. Well, a lot of that goes all the way back to, kind of think of our soil, and the nutrients in our soil isn't what it used to be. We use a lot of chemicals and things, pesticides and things in the soil that definitely deplete a lot of the nutrients that we would have gotten in the past, right? And the big farming and things kind of depletes a lot of that. So that affects people's gut health. And then also just the things like in products we put on our body, there's toxins we're entering, into the body. So, that affects your overall wellness as well. So how you absorb and all the things that you do can be affected by all those things. So that's why, getting supplementation directly into your system is so beneficial for you.
So let me ask you this. Getting supplementation directly into your system via IV, can that improve gut health?
It can, yes, it can improve. Like we do offer some vitamins and minerals that do help with that. One thing that I really like for gut health is glutamine. That's a lot of people will take that orally, but we have it as an injection, or we can do it via IV. Definitely helps with the stomach and the gut lining. But I always tell people that we are an adjunct to what they are doing too. So it can help, right? It's like when you go and exercise, you've got to still do all the other things. You have to eat right and do all that. So we can help with the gut health. But ultimately, when you come to me, I'm going to let you know this will help. But you still have to be doing the other things to help improve, your system as well. So eating, properly, making sure you're exercising, because all those things do play a part in our digestive system.
So a little bit kind of off the record, just this is where my brain's going for some reason. So forgive me, but so how do we bypass all these preservatives and all these, the big farming industry putting all these pesticides? How do we bypass that? Do we grow our own gardens, grow our own vegetables, grow our own fruits?
That ideally, that would be the best thing to do, right? Is grow our own things. There are, lots of times people that will go to like farmers markets because people are just growing their things and then selling those there. Some organic. But I also am very aware that if there are people that you don't have the time for it, or you can't do those things, anything that you do buy, there is what's called the dirty dozen. So there's certain things that definitely absorb those chemicals in more than other, produce that you would be buying. So if you look that up, you can look it up online, but it'll say the dirty dozen. Things that absorb lots of things are like strawberries, definitely suck things into them. But you just look that up, and then, you try to go organic or try to grow those yourself. And then, definitely anything that you get, though, I always say definitely clean your produce very, very well. But so that helps with those things.
So if you stack a good clean diet, produce that you grew or you got from a farmer's market, you cleaned it well, on top of an IV hydration, what type of health benefits can you expect?
You can definitely expect to feel better, levels of like things to help with like energy levels. Lots of times people always talk about, you walk around dehydrated because we just don't, get enough fluids in. So you're definitely going to help with those, energy levels. People are just going to, their performance at other things. So just, your everyday life, but also, with exercising, you're going to feel so much better too. So doing those things, like I said, and getting those nutrient levels to where they need to be helps you overall in just general wellness, right? But it's also going to help with, exercising or functional things. I always tell people that lots of times I think we think of health and wellness as the people that they're super fit and they can, lift the heavy weights or they can run, but really functionally, as we age, if we just move, whether that's getting out walking, whether that's, doing small, weight things, and it can be body weight, sitting down on a chair and standing back up, making that be your squats for the day, trying not to be sitting at the computer all day, doing things just functionally in your life. So that way, your health and wellness, like if you want to play with your kids or you want to play with the grandkids, you can do those things because you're constantly in that state of movement. And what we're going to do by doing, helping to keep those nutrient levels up, keeping you hydrated, doing, a lot of people come to me for cryotherapy because they really like that. It helps with their mobility if they have arthritis issues and things. So doing all those things in combination is what's going to help you. So we're that added component to your overall wellness. So.
Yeah, I love that. And you brought up cryotherapy. You mentioned earlier that it reduces inflammation. You talk about, you have different menu items that help with arthritis. These are things as I'm getting older, I deal with inflammation, arthritis. Explain to us how cryotherapy works in reducing inflammation and helping with arthritis, and then its other health benefits.
Yeah, sure. So with our cryotherapy, it's a stand-up unit. We utilize nitrogen to drop the temperature. And with the unit, we have you get down to undergarments, and we give you gloves to put on your hands and slippers for your feet. But we have you in that unit, and we're in there coaching you through it the whole time, but we're dropping the temperature. The temperature can go from -70 all the way to -200. And I know it sounds very daunting, but if I can do it, and I hate the cold, anybody can do it. And that's why we're there too. We coach you through it, and it's very safe. But we utilize nitrogen. We do that purposefully because there were studies that were done in Japan that looked at people who have rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis. And better results were obtained by utilizing nitrogen because it drops the temperature better than, say, like an electric type of a unit. So that's why we use that. And we just have you in it for 3 minutes. And when we do that, so dropping the temperature down like that, having you in there for 3 minutes is going to help get your blood flow going and your circulation going. So kind of think of like when you're exercising, your blood flow gets going and those good endorphins release because we're getting those, that circulation going. So it does that, but it also helps get the blood flow to those areas of inflammation to help reduce the inflammation. And then the other thing that it does is it just helps with people with sleep, because your body, after you get done doing the cryotherapy session, your body's working all day to warm your core back up. And as it works, well, when you get to the end of the day, then you're coming down and you're nice and relaxed and you sleep well. But it also, the cryotherapy, and a lot of people like this component about it, is that when your body's working like that, then it's helping you to burn calories too. So you burn some calories as well. Wow. So it helps with that. It does help people with mood because, think, like I said, you're releasing those good endorphins. And so when you do that, it does help people too, like with their mood, they feel happier. And a lot of people will come out of the unit and they just get this it's the funniest thing because while they're in it, sometimes, and we play music so they can kind of, dance around and kind of get their mind off of it because it's mind over matter. But they get, they're pumped up and then they come out and it's kind of that big endorphin release and they'll just have this big smile. And so it's just really cool. And it's amazing. And I work with a lot of, chiropractors in the area. They love it because after people get adjustments, they'll come to me and help, to reduce the inflammation. A lot of physical therapists, like it too. So we'll do that. So it's pretty fun. And I actually have a employee who just got knee replacement surgery and she loves it because it helps with that recovery too. So it's really neat. I really love the cryotherapy. And then when we add in an IV. So if someone comes in and get an IV from me and we run them through cryotherapy, well, we're getting that circulation going. So it just helps those nutrients get into the cells even quicker because we're, boosting up that blood circulation.
This episode of the Recovery Couch is brought to you by Greg Swartz at Remax Victory and Affiliates. Greg brings heart, hustle, and honesty to every deal. Call Greg at 937-477-8975 today and tell him the Recovery Couch sent you. That's a good segue. When I came over to the office and you showed me around, first of all, the cryotherapy is what I wanted to try more than anything for some reason. But second, you gave me a backstory. You worked in the pharmaceutical world for years, right?
Yes.
And so you have this working knowledge of really not just the anatomy of the human body, but the way that the human body responds to medicines. And
yes.
And that was one of my favorite parts of your story, Debbie, was that translated right into this business, which became your passion. Give us the backstory on kind of how you switched. That's a very lucrative career that you had. And then give us the backstory on how you decided, okay, this is what I want to pursue.
Okay, sure. So for many years, I did pharmaceutical sales. Prior to that, I did medical equipment sales. So did pharmaceuticals, was in that arena for about 15 years. When you do that, a lot of people aren't familiar, but it's intense. You learn all the body systems, anatomy, physiology. I always say it should be a degree thing. But you learn all the things about different medications and the science behind, like how the body works, how the medication works in the body, which is really cool. I like that. However, there's also, looking at things and, wanting people to not have to be on some of the medications that I promoted. So I had, my blood pressure medications. I had medications that, help people to not have a stroke. So, so I did that for years. And then I was laid off, and I was laid off in 2009, and it was just a big company layoff. It was typical back then for pharmaceutical companies to do that. And when I was laid off, then I made the decision to stay home with my boys, and I homeschooled them. And while I was homeschooling them, I, had already had a passion for working out and fitness, and already had my personal training and nutrition certifications. And so I was training people and, helping people, with their diets, their meal plans, all those kind of things. And, loved it. And then my boys got through homeschool. I got them all the way until graduation. And then it was time to go back into corporate America. And I did that for a short period and decided that just really wasn't my passion, because I even went back into pharma for a little bit. And I had someone reach out to me and ask me if I had ever thought about owning my own business. And the answer at that moment was no. But when someone presented to me this business, then my eyes lit up a lot because it kind of met both worlds for me. It was, health and wellness. I love helping people. And if I could help people to connect the dots with their fitness and their wellness and just seeing, like I said before, stop being reactive about your health and being proactive and get to the root causes of what you have going on. That just lights me up. Like, I love that like nobody's business. So, I am that weird person that listens to health, medical, nutrition, like podcasts, like all the time. I just love it.
No, and I love your advice there. Be proactive instead of reactive. I've heard somebody say it another way one time, like pick your heart, right? Do you want to, react to a bad diagnosis from a doctor and then have to go into, this understanding of health and wellness and how foods are affecting your body and movements affecting your body? Or would you rather just start on your own and be reactive? And I think that's, fantastic advice. So let me see if I can give a good summary about just your background.
Okay.
You've studied pharmacology, nutrition. You have a little bit of background training people personally, and then all of a sudden you get approached with this opportunity that is Prime IV hydration, where you start to see like, hey, this really could help people. And this is why I love your company, Debbie, is because I believe in this stuff so much.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to, the recovery of like our bodies. You talk
Yes.
about what we put our bodies through all day, some even more than others. What was it about this specific business that was just like outside of pharmacology, nutrition, training people personally? This is my passion. What was it?
I think because it was more holistic for people. And it wasn't that they would be taking, pills all the time. It kind of give a little bit of backstory on that. So I, watched and I knew my own family history of heart disease and lung disease, kidney disease, all these things, and would watch, my loved ones. That's what they were doing. They were just taking medications all the time. And I wanted to be able to have a business that would show people that there are other ways, and there are other ways to take care of your body from a more holistic standpoint. And sometimes it is just that you're deficient in nutrients that your body needs. Or I have people that, they've had surgeries where they can't absorb nutrients, or they do have illnesses they can't absorb nutrients like they need to. So that, was a passion for me that, okay, I can help these people because, by doing of their own, some of them, it just, their body, they just have something that they can't absorb nutrients. So, I liked it from that perspective. And I liked it, just to let people know that you don't have to be stuck where you're at, like we can meet you, you know, even if it's in the middle of your journey of whatever you have going on, we can meet you there and help you to integrate something more holistic into your body.
I love that. And a little bit of my backstory, Debbie. I had an addiction to prescription pain medication and benzos, and it led to a full blown addiction. And how could how do you deal with somebody who comes in, a client who comes in who has depleted nutrients from drug use or alcohol use, and then what type of menu items would you suggest, and how would those menu items benefit that person?
So, someone that would come in if they're struggling with addiction, and that could be from many different avenues, and it could be there are things that you're depleted in. So we could there's a couple ways we could go about this. So, just generally, I would probably do an IV that's going to have, things that most people need, your B vitamins, so a complex of B vitamins, some B12. I would probably add in things like glutathione. Glutathione is really good for liver function and health. Acetylcysteine kind of comes back in and heals the liver. So you kind of do this detox and a healing process. So there are certain things that I would add into their IV, hands down, just from that perspective, because I would want to start building, because I'm sure we've probably depleted things and we've probably destroyed, when you talk about opioid use and things, you've probably destroyed a lot of the functionality as far as like the liver. So we would go back in and we're going to heal that liver, and we're going to add those things in there to help. We also do NAD plus, which most people can do that. And that is it's something in your body that we naturally produce. However, as we age, it decreases. So kind of think of, I always tell people, I kind of give them a little mini science lesson, and I say, so in science, ATP is what fuels cells. Prior to ATP is NAD. If you don't have NAD, then you're not going to be able to produce ATP, which is going to produce new cells. So we want to, replenish that, and we do that via, injections, or we can do it via IV. Now, there have been studies done for addiction and NAD plus. It's been done mainly with doing it via IV. So we could, discuss that if someone wanted to do that. But probably what I would start them with first, though, is just getting those nutrient stores back up by doing a drip that's going to have, like I said, those B vitamins, the glutathione, the antioxidants, things that are just going to boost that system. Once we kind of get it boosted up and we see how you feel that way and get those hydration levels up, and then also do, like some injections, some vitamin D, those type of things, then we could, delve into NAD plus if we wanted to go a little bit further with that.
ATP being adenosine triphosphate. What is NAD plus?
So that's nicotinamide. I always have to say it. Nicotinamide adenosine diphosphate. So it's a big, huge word, and that's why they always say NAD plus. But it's like a coenzyme in your body that, like I said, we naturally produce. You have to have it, because if the NAD was totally depleted out of your body, well, then we wouldn't have cells. We'd die, right? So yeah, it's a lot of people. And if you look up NAD plus, a lot of people talk about the longevity component of it, the research for it for Alzheimer's. Now, the only caveat with NAD plus is for people who have had cancer. Right now, there's not enough studies to show whether NAD plus just produces just those healthy cells. And so a lot of the controversy right now is whether someone who's ever had cancer, because if it were to produce, new cancer cells. So if someone's had a history of that, then we usually won't do it here. It's against the protocols that we have in place. But other than that, other people, for NAD plus, we could definitely do it.
I love that everything is science-based.
Yes.
But there had to be some difficult hoops to jump through when you're talking about injecting people with IVs.
Yes.
Tell the audience, the certifications that are required, why this is a healthy option, why there should be zero, to let the audience know about that stuff.
So, first of all, the state of Ohio is very strict and very regulated when it comes to any type of medical service. And so to actually do a service here, you have to be licensed by the state of Ohio. And you also have to have a medical director that oversees everything. And so when you come into my facility, you come in, I have you complete a complete health history for me. And then I have a physician assistant that talks with you and will give you medical clearance. He's looking at safety overall for you, and and making sure there's nothing that would be a contraindication for you to get IV services. Once you get medical clearance from him, then I have registered nurses, and only registered nurses will start your IV, and they'll oversee, while you're here. And that's pretty much it. But yeah, safety is first and foremost here at my location. So that's exactly what we do. We go about it the right way, and it's very safe. And when I said that, some people can't get IVs, there are certain medical things that you would have that it would not be safe for you to get an IV. And we would tell you that, you can't do that. And some of the things to kind of give people an idea is if they have kidney disease, if they have congestive heart failure, anything that would cause them to hold on to fluids. We don't want that to happen because that's not safe. So we wouldn't be able to do it with them. And then, if someone can't, then like I said, we would say, you can't get that from us. Now, if it's an issue that we need more lab work for you, we would have you get that for us before we would do it. But yeah, we definitely have definite protocols in place for all of it.
So it sounds like you operate like a doctor's office.
Yes. Yeah, very much so.
And then I want to get to the last question here. So we kind of talked a little bit about like how this could benefit somebody who has had addiction issues, just in layman's terms. Let's say somebody is in early stages of recovery.
Yes.
In the shortest, just most layman term way possible, how can your services help this person? Let's say not avoid opiate withdrawal, but how could these services help with opiate withdrawal? What is it doing to them, neurologically? And what type of menu items would you suggest to somebody who might be coming out of, some sort of addiction into the early stages of recovery?
Yeah. So what we would do, like I said, that complete health history, and I'd want to know kind of what the symptoms, like what things they have going on. And if a lot of it is to help with calming things, I would utilize magnesium for that. If it were, we're looking at just needing those extra fluids in your system, just feeling better overall, we have IVs that are specific for that. And that's the other thing too I love about what we do here is we can definitely look at your health history and to be able to tell you what we, feel like you would need. And that's based off symptomology. Now, we do have people that will get labs and we can go directly from that as well. But in layman's terms, the hydration itself is definitely going to help. Most people walk around chronically dehydrated. That's going to help you. The other components that I talked about, like magnesium for calming, glutathione to help detoxify the liver, acetylcysteine to heal that, all of those things are just little added bonuses, right? Just to help you overall in just feeling better. If you have things like some people, might come in and they're recovering and they have nausea or that I guess I would probably lead back to magnesium again, but they'll have those things going on. We can definitely help with that. Like B6 is great for that. So yeah, we have all kinds of stuff that we can help, but it's we personalize it to each person that comes in. But yeah, just the hydration overall. I mean, like I said, most people walk around chronically dehydrated. They don't even realize it. And, that will help you feel so much better once you get hydrated.
Yeah, I think, and that's a great answer because I think some of the withdrawal symptoms that people have coming off of medications are because they're lacking some sort of nutrient.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I kind of wanted to let you answer that question a lot more intelligently than I can answer that question because, the target audience of this show, to give a better understanding of what nutrients, okay, if I'm coming off of this substance, maybe they can even research on their own. What nutrients have I depleted, my brain and my body? And then how can, what are the options in my community to go out and replenish those nutrients? And Prime IV hydration is the staple business in this community to go out and replenish those nutrients. Exactly. Why don't you tell my audience where they can find you, a website, address, all that stuff?
Okay. So for website, you're going to go on to primivhydration.com and you're going to look for the Springboro location. We are right on 741. Our address is 746 Gardner Road, but we are right across the street from DLM. So if you know where the DLM is here in Springboro, we're right across the street. And the other thing too, and I know you and I had talked about it before, Brandon, as far as like a lot of people ask about costs and whether insurance covers and those type of things. So we don't file insurance for you. If we filed insurance, then our prices would be a lot higher. So we don't do that, but we do take, if your insurance, if you have an HSA or an FSA, we do take those. The other thing is to kind of think of it in this term. Everything else, is going to be cash pay. So it's going to range. The first time with me, it's going to be $85 to $149, depending upon what we pick. But after that, we do have memberships and things, where we can make it, more feasible for you. And the other thing is to keep in mind with insurance. So, you come to me, you're looking at between $85 to $149. If you go to the hospital, well, you're going to have to meet your deductible. And lots of times our deductibles are really high, and hospitals charge a whole lot more for that just bag of IV fluids. And all it has is just, the electrolytes and minerals that are going to be in the IV bag, but it doesn't have everything else that we can add to it for you. So you're getting, the hospital environment and a lot of money, or you can come see us in a spa environment where we definitely pamper you while you're here. I mean, I'm heated eye mask, socks, massage chair, blanket.
Yeah, my eyeballs have witnessed it, and I want more of it. I want to get into that cryotherapy chamber, and we'll see each other in passing, and we'll make something happen along those lines. But so grateful for you. I am such a firm believer in the holistic approach, and I love what you're doing, Debbie. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
You are so very welcome. I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah. So, and for the rest of you, just remember, you always have a seat right here on the recovery couch.